I'm Joyce. Sitting in my office, I'm looking at the bank statements with a heavy heart. A sum of $40,000 has vanished from my business account. This money was supposed to be the fuel for my company's growth, the key to hiring new consultants and upgrading our technology. But now, it's gone, used to fund my sister Lily's extravagant wedding. My family has always been a source of both love and frustration. I grew up in a middle-class family. My father, Henry, is a laid-back man who often avoids taking financial responsibility. My mother, Carol, is overly emotional and always puts family harmony above all else, even if it means sacrificing my interests. And my sister Lily, at 27, is a free-spirited social media influencer with a big following but no real income. For the past 10 years, I've been the silent pillar of the family. While Lily was busy creating trendy content and chasing her influencer dreams, I was working 75-hour weeks to build my consulting firm from the ground up. Every time there was a family emergency, whether it was my father's unexpected medical bills, Lily's car breakdowns, or the leaky roof at our parents' house, I was the one to step in and solve the problem. I've transferred over $200,000 over the years, all without a single inquiry from them about my business or my financial situation. To them, I was just the reliable ATM, always there to pay the bills. 2 years ago, I bought a downtown office building. That seemed to be the turning point. They started to assume I had an endless supply of money. What they didn't know was that I'd been strategically acquiring assets through shell companies for a long time. The office building was just the tip of the iceberg. 6 months ago, I reached a major milestone. A private equity group approached me with an offer of $40,000 for a 15% stake in my company. This investment was the result of a decade of hard work. I naively thought that sharing this good news at a Sunday family dinner would earn me some recognition. But instead, Lily immediately started complaining about her financial struggles. Her brand partnerships weren't paying well, her rent had gone up, and she needed money for professional photo shoots and to attend networking events. My father nodded sympathetically, saying that Lily worked so hard on her brand, and my mother chimed in with her usual family comes first speech. I was used to it, so I just listened quietly. 3 weeks later, I found out the money was gone. I thought it was a banking error at first. But after some investigation, I discovered that my father, who I'd added as a backup signer on my secondary business account during an international trip years ago, had transferred the money to Lily's wedding planner. Lily was getting married, a wedding I hadn't even been told about, and it was being funded with my business investment. When I called my father, he was so casual about it. He said Lily found her dream venue and needed the deposit right away. He claimed that my business would be fine, but Lily would never get another chance at a perfect wedding. I was furious. This was not just about the money, it was about the blatant disregard for my financial obligations and my hard-earned success. I demanded the money back by Friday. My father laughed and said it was impossible since the deposits were already paid and the contracts were signed. He even had the audacity to call it family support and told me to stop being selfish. When I called my mother, she was equally dismissive. She said my father had every right to use the money for a family emergency and that Lily's happiness was more important than some business expense. I spent the rest of the day calculating the damage. Without the $40,000, I couldn't meet the technology upgrade timeline I'd promised my partners, and I couldn't hire the consultants I'd interviewed. I looked like an unreliable business partner. That evening, Lily called. She was grateful for the family support and said I was being unreasonable. She thought my business was doing so well that I could easily afford to help her with the wedding. I was appalled by her lack of understanding. I told her that the money was for my business, and she had no right to take it. But she just blamed my father and hung up. Over the next 2 weeks, I tried every possible way to resolve the situation. I offered payment plans, suggested taking out a loan, and even said I'd help with the wedding from my personal funds if they returned the business investment. But every suggestion was met with accusations of being selfish and prioritizing business over family. Meanwhile, Lily's social media was filled with wedding planning content, all funded by my stolen money. The breaking point came when my business partner called about the delayed technology implementation. I had to explain the situation, and it was so humiliating. I'd built my reputation on reliability, and now I looked like a financial failure. That afternoon, I made a decision. I called the corporate headquarters of the bank, not the branch where my family did their banking. I requested a meeting with the senior vice president, Ms. Anderson. I spent the weekend preparing documentation, including bank statements of the unauthorized withdrawal, the investment agreement, and records of all the family financial requests I'd fulfilled over the past 10 years. On Monday, I dressed in my best suit and went to the bank. Ms. Anderson greeted me in a glass-walled conference room. I explained the situation about the unauthorized access to my business funds. As I was talking, I took out another folder and revealed that I was the majority stakeholder of the bank's parent company, which I'd acquired through a series of shell company purchases over the past 6 years. The board didn't know my identity, and I'd preferred to stay anonymous. I proposed immediate account security measures for customers who had shown unauthorized use of shared accounts. This included freezing accounts, reviewing recent transfers for fraud, and requiring in-person verification for large withdrawals. I also wanted to review the loan and credit portfolio of customers with irregular large expenditures. Ms. Anderson agreed and said she'd have the security team start the review right away. On my way back to the car, I felt a strange sense of calm. For 10 years, I'd been enabling my family's financial irresponsibility. But now, that pattern was going to end. Around 3 p.m. My phone started ringing. The first call was from my father. He was angry and demanded to know what I'd done. Their bank accounts were frozen, and they were being investigated for potential fraud. I told him I was just reporting the unauthorized use of my business account. He couldn't understand why I was destroying the family over money. Then my mother called. She was crying and said I was being too harsh. She thought it was revenge for helping Lily with the wedding. I explained that it was about the $40,000 stolen from my business account, and the bank was just doing its job. An hour later, Lily called, screaming that I was ruining her wedding. The venue deposit check had bounced, the photographer had cancelled, and the caterer wanted cash up front. I told her that her wedding was being funded with stolen money, and if she wanted to report me to the police, I'd welcome it. By Wednesday, the calls stopped. I later learned that they'd spent Tuesday at the bank trying to resolve the account freezes. The mortgage review showed that they'd been relying on my gifts to pay their monthly mortgage for over 2 years. Without my support, their debt-to-income ratio was too high, and they might have to sell the house. The credit card review showed a similar pattern. On Thursday, Ms. Anderson called to give me an update. They'd recovered about $15,000 of the unauthorized transfer, but the remaining $25,000 was lost due to non-refundable deposits. On Friday afternoon, my parents came to my office. They looked exhausted. My father said the bank was foreclosing on the house, their credit cards were canceled, and Lily's wedding was off. They said they didn't realize taking the $40,000 would cause so many problems. I told them that they'd taken over $200,000 from me in the past 10 years, and this was the final straw. I wanted them to learn to live within their means, get jobs that paid enough, and stop assuming they could always rely on me. They asked what would happen to the house, their retirement, and Lily's future. I told them those were their responsibilities to figure out. I'd been supporting them since I was 25, and I was done. 6 months later, I received a wedding invitation from Lily. She was getting married in a small ceremony at the local community center. The invitation was simple, with no mention of expensive flowers or gourmet catering. I sent a modest gift as a normal wedding guest. The thank you note I received from Lily was different. It was handwritten and included an apology. She'd gotten a full-time job at a marketing firm, and her social media now focused on budget-friendly lifestyle tips. My parents sold their house and moved into a small apartment. My father found a part-time job as a financial advisor, and my mother returned to nursing. As for me, I used this crisis as motivation to grow my business. The partnership that was delayed by the stolen money was eventually restructured as a full acquisition. My consulting firm now employs 15 people and generates 8-figure annual revenue. I've learned to set boundaries, and family support is now planned and budgeted. Sometimes, I wonder if I could have handled the situation differently. But then I remember the years of being taken for granted, and I know that setting boundaries was the right thing to do. The $25,000 I lost was a high-price lesson, but it taught me how to distinguish between love and exploitation, and it was worth every cent.